hard to get here tonight, but he's still in Malaysia, so he will not be here. He's on a work excuse absence tonight. No, I told him not to bother. How could we hear him? So.
I don't think he could hear anything.
He can't because he's out of the country.
I don't think
Drugs.
I've tried it before.
We called.
We did it at the closed session in the next room, and
I think we used actual phone lines.
oh,
Yeah, we couldn't do it yet.
oh, never mind.
Yeah. Public comment. Everybody, I've got my timer. Anybody want to make a comment now before we get going anymore?
Are we stuck on a topic?
You're on any topic you want.
Okay.
Not now.
The annual Children's Halloween Party will be the Saturday just before Halloween. We are going to have it here. I'm trying to figure out some more cool games and more things than just piñatas. This is getting a little lame. But we're going to have the party. I want everybody to bring their kids, bring your grandkids. And also, we've got 3 events coming up, Canyon Watch. And any people that are here that aren't at ICL or not on any of my lists, I could sure use some help. We've got that night coming, we've got the fair coming. Those 2, oh, that's enough for now.
Christmas in the Canyon.
And Christmas in the Canyon.
When is the Halloween party?
The Saturday before,
It's the 26th.
thank you.
26th?
I don't have my day planner with me, so.
That night is this weekend.
No, that night's the 19th. October.
October, yeah, October 19th.
Yeah.
So you get warmed up at that night and then come to the Halloween party the next weekend.
One more thing that's really, really important. We have had 3 dead owls, 5 dead foxes in Silverado Canyon. We don't know exactly why they were tested for rabies, and only 1 fox could be tested. Came up negative, but something's going on. If you see any dead animals, I need to hear about it because I'm liaisoning with the health department. And call me. The last fox was dying, so I just hospiced it until it died.
That's
Please
Connie
do
Nelson.
not use rat poison. It goes upstream. The mouse eats it, then the owl or the fox eats the mouse, and then we start having dead things. But it could be distemper. It wasn't rabies on the last fox. But pay attention, and I'd sure like to hear about it if you guys are seeing dead animals.
Did they do a toxicology?
On the last fox,
And?
negative. The one before that was incomplete, indeterminate.
Okay.
All right, thank you. First item on the agenda.
I'd like to make a comment, if
Yes.
you don't mind. Can I read my letter of resignation from the board? Do you mind, or would you rather me just submit it?
How long is it?
Less than 3 minutes.
Read it.
Dear SMRPD Board of Directors, no, I'm not standing up, I'll be too nervous. Board of Directors and Canyon residents, as many of you may already know, I have formally submitted a letter of resignation to the SMRPD Board of Directors. This was a decision that I did not take lightly. It was not a reactive decision, nor was it, excuse me, I'm so nervous, I apologize, nor it was not a selfish decision. In fact, this decision has greatly saddened me. Therefore, it has taken me a little bit of time to prepare and release this personal statement. I would appreciate for the statement to be reflected in tonight's meeting minutes and to be a record to be maintained in the corporate archives. When I chose to run for the director position, I knew it was going to be a very difficult and time-consuming job. I knew there were a number of critical issues that needed to be addressed, and I was looking forward to bringing constructive change, along with some fun activities and programs to the Canyon. What I didn't expect and was not prepared for was the utter hatefulness and obstructionistic behavior I encountered. I was fully aware my opponent, Shea Peterson, and I had differing agendas and beliefs. Naively, I thought I would be able to accomplish my work in the Canyons while she accomplished hers. I truly believe that although we had different philosophies, we would both contribute in positive and unique ways. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Not only was there little work being done as a board member on her part, but she continued to attack the other board members.
That's ridiculous.
So, really, that's not necessary.
But she continued to attack other board members and myself with false accusations. These accusations have unfortunately cost the district financially, as well as causing a disruption in business. In addition, I have witnessed those close to Shay joining in on the attacks by leaking SMRPD information to the press, outright lying to the community, not only about myself, but also about confidential SMRPD business, organizing destructive email blasts, and being antagonistic and rude in public meetings and gathering places. These assaults were encouraged and relished by other community members of the same ilk. This small contingent of divisive and manipulative people only attend the SMRPD board meetings to disrupt and destroy the good happenings in the canyon. These people are hell-bent on doing whatever it takes to destroy and eliminate the people that do not agree with their agenda. I made the decision to resign when the amount of time I was spending on positive activities that I enjoyed doing was equaled by the amount of time I was spending on defending myself against lies and defamation. One person told me that I let them win. That may be true. I am out of office, but I look at it this way. I win as I get my peace of mind and time back, and who really lost is the community. The canyon communities have now lost another dedicated, hard-working person due to this deliberate and hostile behavior of this group. This is the sad part. I'm still committed to working on a number of projects in the canyon, and I am steadfast in finding the underlying cause of the deceit and fraud that I have been seeing perpetrated against this canyon. I'd like to say thank you to the board. It has certainly been a learning experience, one that I won't forget. I spent way too many nights reading Robert's rules, the Brown Act, SMRPD agendas and minutes, the SMRPD policy, and any other special district information I could get my hands on. I'd also like to say thanks from the bottom of my heart to my neighbors that voted for me. Thank you for trusting me and supporting me. Through all of this, the one regret I have is not completing my term that you elected me to. All my best, Lisa Collins.
Thank you. Anybody else have comments they'd like to make? Judy?
I was not going to say anything until I just heard that ridiculous thing. After the meeting last month, I was attacked verbally, yelling and screaming by an elected member of this board, Ms. Collins. Screaming and yelling lies, some things she said that were not true, following me around the parking lot, yelling and screaming. When people came to my defense, she attacked them. When I tried to leave, she continued to follow me, attacking me. Two things she said that really shocked me. One of the first ones was, if we would not have to be dealing with this handicap parking problem if you had not moved into this area.
I did not say
When
that.
I called her on that, she said, what I meant to say was we, meaning the board, would not have to be dealing with this problem if you had not brought it to our attention. And that, I'm sure, is probably 100% true. But the fact is, she was saying one of two things. Either I had no right to bring to this board what was legally their responsibility to deal with, or that none of you, as residents in this community, have the right to bring to this board what it is, I believe, our responsibility to do. Ms. Collins resigned not for any of her high-minded reasons, but because as a public official, as a person working in public service, she could not handle this job. You do not talk. You can think whatever you want. You do not yell and scream and attack, especially someone with a disability. And you would not believe the things she said to me. And there were witnesses here tonight that heard the whole thing. Do not believe this BS. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. So I think we all know rules are the rules. When Judy brought her thing about the handicap spot up, I called Steve and I told Steve, buy the paint, buy the sign. So I think the sign and the paint are all out there now, Steve? Yeah. So the board wasn't dragging its feet. And we did it, the sign just came today, so we got it up.
Thank you.
Jim? 3 minutes.
Hank.
Hank, sorry.
I would like to suggest that we move on with the future rather than discussing all the problems of the past. And that, if you will, if you outline for everybody here what the process is, the legal process for replacement for an absent board seat.
That'd be agenda item number A when we get to other district business. Thanks. Thank you, Hank. Anybody else? All right, so next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. And we've got minutes from the last meeting, and we have director's compensation of $200, district bills of $3,996.65, and utility bills and reimbursements of $2,024.27. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar? You want to pull anything?
No, I'll make the motion and we accept the consent calendar as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passed.
I do have a question though. I don't know, Lisa, did you ever get any reimbursement from the county yet?
Mhm.
Oh, you did? Oh,
You didn't?
no,
You don't like it?
I guess.
No, call me and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Because she said you're
I
fine.
thought they were in conjunction.
That's only good because they don't wildcat. They don't like wildcat.
Okay.
All right, well, we need to find that out.
Okay.
So, I'm going to suggest that, because I don't get as many emails and calls as I think I should be getting, because I hear rumors coming from secondhand and thirdhand from people. If you've got something to say, email me. And we're checking and making sure that the email works right now, but it's greg@smrpd.org. So one of the comments that I heard from several people on both sides of the issue is they don't like the minutes, and that not everything's getting in the minutes. Well, if we have a 2-hour meeting, everything's not going to get in the minutes. So I talked to the attorney about it. She said our options are we can do action minutes, and action minutes are the items there, what we did we postpone it, we didn't act it, we tabled on it. And I'd like to propose that we think about doing that. Another kind of minutes are verbatim minutes. We record the meetings, we could bring a stenographer in, that would be really expensive, we're not even doing that, don't think about it. We could send them to a transcriptionist who could then transcribe them. She thought about $100 to $200 a month, we're not doing that, would be my suggestion. But I asked Brett if he would be the official video audio recorder, and I apologize, I ran out of the house because I knew I was running late, and I left the little recorder that we have. But we've been recording the minutes all along. So what I'm wondering is, what if we do action minutes, and then we have the recording and we can put it online? So I talked to Ron about it. We just have to buy a little more space on our website, and we can, I don't know how to do it, but somebody can post them. So we'll have our action minutes that are what we did, cut and dried. Anybody that wants to go online can have it. Brett was thinking maybe it takes too much space up, but maybe if we do audio, it won't be as big as if we do video.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the best format
Yeah.
for it.
So,
And I'm not sure if you want to, I don't know if you
Marty
want to
showed
keep them
up
for a
tonight,
whole
we're going
month.
to task Marty with helping to get that going. I've got all these things in my, I've got all this stuff in the recorder and I can't even put it in my computer, and they said, oh, just plug it in and it'll go right in, and I'm afraid I'll erase something, so.
It's not old content. I have a question. If we do have, and we have been recording, I know the last couple of meetings, I guess my question is, how do we retrieve that? I mean, who is going to say, I said this, or no, someone said that?
We'll post it on, if we do it like I think we might do it,
Okay.
it'll go on our website and it'll just be there. It'll be the paper agenda and the recording. You know, it'll say September 24th.
So it'll be the full meeting on tape, audio and video?
Unless
Well,
the tape
I'm
runs
thinking
out.
we're gonna do,
This one is super
we're
fun.
gonna do video, we're gonna do audio because the video is gonna take so much room we couldn't fit it on. Think so? So we'll either do audio or video.
Okay.
If I see a picture of myself on that thing posted anywhere, we won't be doing video anymore. So I'd rather do audio, but, so,
But yeah,
It depends on how much compression I'll put on it in the program
Well,
before it gets loaded up.
I think it's a great idea. My main concern was you got a 2-hour meeting and somebody said, hey, I said this in the middle of the meeting. How are you gonna find that? There's no quick way to search. What's that?
well, actually, you can,
You can
we'll talk
slide
to Marty,
that
we'll
forward.
slide the thing and get to her, yeah.
Yeah, you can,
The attorney suggested that if we did, she said sometimes when groups are really upset, she'll go in and she'll say verbatim recording, and after everybody gets to 30 pages of stuff, they all go, okay, never mind. So let's use her expertise, let's do action minutes, record, figure out how to get that online for everybody. The action minutes are legal minutes. That's a completely legal way of doing it, because the stuff that has to be in the minutes is what we voted on. Or if we discuss and table, or, Bob, you want to make a comment?
I'd like to make a request, and it has to do with the agenda. The agenda has gotten briefer and briefer in the description of the things to be discussed. And what it's supposed to contain is a sufficient description that someone reading it can understand what's going to be considered. Not just the subject, but what you're going to do with that subject. And if you could add, I would say, another dozen words to each one, it would accomplish that real handily.
Okay.
And one of the ones in question, which you know about, has to do with the approval of promoting a charitable organization. And it didn't say what was being considered at all, or what. And it was
Which led
misinterpreted.
to confusion and
Yes.
misinterpretation.
And that happens routinely with some of the agenda items.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Scott?
Just to follow up, I wonder if like you could suggest an example of how to do it his way so that,
So Bob could give me some examples of something, yeah, because
yeah.
I had no examples to work off
Okay.
of. What? Yes.
There are computer programs that take speech and convert it to text.
We're not doing that.
Okay.
Thank you, but that's a great idea, because, well, the little recorder we have does that, I just can't make it work, so, if, we'll get it to Marty and let him figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, now, are you guys okay, we're gonna switch to action minutes?
Yep.
Bev, what we have for you is a place to go to learn how to do it and make them come out, so I'll get you, Betsy Martin, our attorney, is going to send you some sites and give you some people you can go, okay, how do I do, here's what I did last month, here's what happened at the meeting, how do I make it? And it's going to be really easy.
Do you need a motion?
Put it on YouTube.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I agree.
it's not on the agenda, is it?
Yeah, so I'm directing us that that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
And if we don't like it, you undirect me later.
Conference call at 8 o'clock.
All right.
Tuesday night fiasco.
Tape it.
Yeah, right.
Tape it and post it for us all to see. Okay, so we have, next thing is treasurer's report. And Ron and Megan are working out a thing where he can give us what he gave us last month, but they didn't work it out good enough this month to do it, so we have our old standard treasurer's report, which none of us really love. I asked him to, out of QuickBooks, to give us a item by item, everything that was spent during the month. So we'll start to see that, and he's gonna give us that kind of bullet point at the front where it said, we have this, we have this, we have this, in each account.
Okay.
And so, if we look at the SMRPD, it looks like we have a negative of $9,200, but that's because of how we get paid. We don't have a negative, we have lots of money in the bank.
More than anyone else.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say that that's because I'm cheap and we haven't been spending a lot of money, but it sounds like I'd be saying I was cheap, and I don't want to say that out loud. Yeah. Okay, next item, Children's Center Director's Report. We're going to give Lindy a pass since she's only been on the job for about a half an hour. But I do want to talk about some of the things that we've been doing. So everybody knows we had a walkthrough with the ad hoc group last Saturday, and a lot of you came, I really appreciate it, or Saturday before.
Saturday before.
Yeah, Saturday. And so, Cressa has sent me her action item list that she got, and I'm anxiously awaiting everybody else that came. Thank you for coming, and I'm awaiting your action item list, because that's gonna be the basis of how we prioritize. So, what we're gonna see at the Children's Center, I hope, is we're gonna attack the preschool room first, because that's where we make the most money, and that's where we have 2 more full-time kids, all of a sudden we're in the black. 3 more full-time kids where we have extra money to do lots of stuff with. So we don't get a lot of 5-day-a-week kids, so that means a few more here and there throughout the time. I asked, I don't know how I asked Amy, I said something, I got the copy of the phone bill, and our phone bill was $262 for the month that she gave it to me for. I go, Amy, I have 3 lines of work, I pay like $90, what's going on here? Or maybe I pay $120. So called the phone company, the net effect is we're gonna have 2 lines instead of 3 lines. There'll be a fax line that they can use as outgoing call, because she said we never use 3 lines ever. I talked to Amy about it. We're gonna have high-speed internet for them. It's gonna be the medium one, which was gonna be $60 a month, but after I got done talking to her, it turned out to be $40 a month. And we get a $150 gift certificate, so you guys have to watch for it in the mail.
Yeah, 90 days.
She said it'd take a while.
Forget about it.
So, so the phone bill with high-speed internet is going to be about $87 a month. So we went from $260 something to $87. Right for the first few months. Thank you. For the first few months, it's going to be a little more, because when I was calling and talking to Jenny today, going, which is the fax line, because I didn't want to disconnect the wrong line. They plugged something in the fax line, it didn't work. So I left the Wire Pro on, which is where they come and fix all the lines. So before we disconnect Wire Pro, we need to go to every jack in the building and make sure it works. But that'll save us, that's like $13 or $16 a month or something like that. So we'll save that.
Are we keeping the same numbers, like the fax numbers going to be the same?
No. We think the fax number is going to be the second line now, not the third line.
Oh, so then it'll change.
Well, I asked
Yeah.
and nobody knew what the fax number was. So
I
I didn't.
don't even know.
Nobody-
Actually, I did let you know, it's written on one of the phone jacks.
Oh. Well,
Griffin was with me, and it's written on there, I think it was 3463.
yeah, it's disconnected now.
Yeah.
We need to print our new stuff. It'll have a new fax number on it. It'll be the 3113 number or something like that. They're coming Thursday, so you guys should have the high-speed internet up on Thursday. And it'll be wireless, so you can hook all your own stuff up to it.
And then that's going to be through what carrier?
AT&T
AT&T?
carrier we have.
And is that AT&T high-speed internet like Cox cable? Does it work that fast when you're on the internet?
It's 12. The
No.
one we bought is 12.
Okay.
I think my Cox at home is 10, so
Okay.
it's
It'll
gonna be
comparable?
so speedy they won't know what to do
Oh,
with themselves.
wonderful.
Is there Wi-Fi in
Whatever they're bringing, it's a Wi-Fi thing, so that will make Wi-Fi for however far it goes.
Well, yeah, I have AT&T, and they have what's called a micro tower. Looks like the size of this.
We're not getting that. It costs more money.
Good. What do you mean, cost?
More month. Well,
That's for the cell phone.
yeah, we're not doing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna get a router to the computer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just
Yeah.
for the computer.
Okay.
So, so the paper that Lindy passed around, think of what you can do that will help. I mean, we've had a ton of people come. I have to thank Jane, she's been there, she's been doing stuff. We've had office cleaners come in. Lindy, well, I told you about Lindy brought her whole crew in. But we need to think about what can we do to make it this jewel in the canyons where everybody says, I'm heading for my kid there. Now, yeah, so I think that's about the biggest thing. Marty?
On the internet, or are we gonna lock it down, or is it gonna be wide open?
No, I think it should be locked down.
Okay. And
So-
give passwords to people as needed.
Yeah, so I don't know, we do you remember that if, when he comes, ask him to make a
Sure.
password security on it?
Sure.
Make it non-broadcasting.
Okay, I'll write that down.
Or you could fix that later, right, Marty?
What's that?
Make it non-broadcasting.
It should be, well, now here Cox should do that, yeah.
It's AT&T.
I'm sure they can do that.
All right, well, that's probably more detail than you all want to hear about, but it's cool. I'm really encouraged about having Lindy. I want to make sure that when I come back from my vacation, she's still here and ready to be here for 7 months, because it was a really total drag to find someone who I thought would be good for the community. And, I mean, the best part is Temple Beth Shalom. 20 ideas, right? 20 things to do. 20 people giving her input, 80 different ideas. It's just like Majeska, I told her. I go, you're going to be fine here. She's like, okay. Anybody, anything else I can tell anybody, Debbie? Anything else that we've talked about that you should tell everybody? Okay.
We need volunteers for the construction project?
Yes, so the, Marcy from Lux Cleaning went today, and she took Amy's office apart and put it back together and repainted the building. Put that on hold for just a second, Brett. So Brett's volunteered.
I only volunteered this tonight. I should be riding my bike.
Brett's volunteered to do that, and then Cresta Cruzen said, well, I can get students. So she's got either the baseball team or the basketball team, I don't know who, but they all said yes, they would do it, and so.
I think my job was to organize all those young men and women that come in.
You use them to the best of your ability, because I would hope they'd know how to paint, so.
Doesn't matter, I'll cover everything, they can throw it on the walls and get it done.
So I'd really love it if you could do that, Brad, on October 6th. It's a Sunday.
Let me look.
You'll be done with all your preparation for what was it?
The open house at
Yeah.
Station 14.
Station 14 will be over, and you don't have to start preparing for the fair until Tuesday, Shay said.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I tried.
No wonder you wear a helmet.
Monday, well,
Incoming.
at least he's got Sunday free, so that'd be perfect.
I have to organize it with Cressa first and find out the booster club, and then I'll start there.
Okay, well,
and see what happens.
I'll email you and Cressa that stuff and say, here's a good day to do it, because after that, we're busy for like 3 weeks, so with the fair and other stuff.
And I found another teacher too that has a bunch of students that need community service hours for high school, so maybe we can get some things done.
Well, we can start doing outside stuff, and we can do the repair. We're going to repair, there's damage to the outside siding, so we're going to go repair, and Shay was nice enough to volunteer Brett to repaint the outside as we go. So we're thinking about, but we are going to reimburse him for any costs that he has. We're going to do... He volunteered himself. At least she didn't say I volunteered. Paint. We need to be thinking about, it's maybe time to update the paint. So, talk to me. Do you want to get emails about that?
Me?
Okay, so, and then we're going to put a construction crew together. So, I already told Steve he's going to kind of be in charge. We've got another family who's already donated a bunch of stuff, so I need to, actually I'm going to talk to them first, ask them how do they want to donate and volunteer, and then we'll build off from there and get the building all sealed up and new before the rains come.
Should we ask for volunteers to the construction
If you have,
demo and...
I'm a good construction demo person, I can tear anything apart, but you don't want me to nail it together to put it. So if you have that ability, if you could come up, Bev's going to start a list for someone who said, I can come and I can be a demo guy, I can hold it for someone who knows what they're doing, or I'm the guy who knows what he's doing. So we need that kind of help. And it'll hopefully all be like on a Saturday or a Sunday and be done, because we can only be there when the kids aren't there.
We're just replacing siding that rotted.
Well,
I just wanted to point out an example of some great painting talent. If anybody wants to take a look at the handicapped spot, I'd like to mention that Brett painted it freehand.
and it did only take 2 years, thank you, but it was it's very, very
What-
nice.
What took 2 years?
From the first time I brought it to this board's attention.
I never heard about it until you brought it to it the other day.
Yeah, right.
Yes, right. That's the only time I heard about it. Of
The
course, I was
second time I
very,
brought it, I started to go into detail, and Greg, you said, you already said that, you don't need to go into detail about what needs to be done.
I also was a little bit distracted my first 2 years getting Steve's house
I know,
replaced, so.
I know that, and that's why we waited,
Jude-
but it looks nice, it really does, and you
Thank you.
figured out a way to put the post in without being in the flower bed, and that was nice,
It was hard.
yes, but it looks good.
Judy,
I talked to Amy before I knew that she was leaving, on that one building that's the front one, and there's the 2 sycamore trees, and then there's a huge laurel sumac, which is highly flammable, and really needs to be cut clear back, way
Yeah,
back.
that's
Because it
on-
would torch that building right away.
yeah, that's on our action item is what needs to go, ladder fuel needs to go, and I was on the fire department
But
just for a
definitely
long
the laurel
time.
sumac, because that's full of oil, and it
Yeah.
would,
Are you talking about by the horse corral
no,
The other
the
side.
2 sycamores that are
in the backyard?
towards the school.
Right by the stairs.
But they're in
okay.
the front. And then
Okay.
this laurel sumac is filling up that whole area.
Yeah.
It's up against, almost up, there's a
Those-
walkway.
Oh, down there, okay, okay, I get what you mean.
Those are the kind of ideas that we need to follow up on because not everybody knows stuff. So I know that some of you know stuff, the rest of us don't know. Tim?
I actually,
But if you tell me if you tell me in the meeting here, I may forget about it, so write it down. Yeah.
I had the opportunity to tour the facility here a month and a half or so ago, with a construction eye, and it does need some siding, but the way you're talking, when a couple guys go out there for a Saturday and get it all done, some of that whole side needs to be replaced, I can put your finger through there. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there's mold in there, it would have to be treated, we need gutters along there. There's an extensive amount of carpentry work that has to be done in the building.
But I'm
It's
gonna-
not just a Saturday get-together workshop.
Tim, good job.
You're there, you're helping.
So as you
Thanks, Tim. I'm a consultant, I don't do that shit anymore.
yeah, we're gonna be talking to,
I just wanna bring it to you, it's not just,
we know all that.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so not to, yeah, we know all that, but that's why I also said I'll hold it and I'll destroy it, but I'm not fixing it. So, Marty?
One thing I remember when I don't mean to go back, but these are just things that are kind of in my head. The school district owned the school, right? They're letting us use it.
We have a ground lease with
Oh,
them,
so
yeah.
we did.
But now it's the county, not the school district.
So we did get an agreement with them.
Yes.
Oh, good, okay.
That area that Judy's talking about, the sumac and everything, is a gray area. The children's center hasn't really maintained any of the plants in there.
Sure.
And neither did the school district before, and the county hasn't touched the land yet.
Sure.
So
Okay,
it's
we have
all
an
overgrown
agreement
right
where
now.
We're okay investing time and effort into that.
Yeah, and the county, when they turned the water off, part of our yard watering was on there, so I'm hoping they get that turned back on. One day actually had to run down there because they turned the water off the entire property
If you,
during school.
if you drive in and you see what used to be a little garden area that never got finished, that was hooked into that same line. We had no idea that the school would be closed and that the water line would be shut off that we tapped into for not only all of our backyard watering, but then the garden as well. So there's no water to any of that right now.
Tapped into sounds like we were undercover, but they know all about it.
They do.
Yeah.
Before you start doing, also we noted up there, there's a shut-off valve to would be the west building. The only valve to shut off the office building is down there at the school site in that fenced yard. So we really need to locate that water line and get a shut-off valve in there.
If you send me an email, or, okay, anybody can send an email. Parks at SMRPD comes to all the board members. If we do that, then one of us won't forget to do something that you've asked us to do. If you do our individual name, it should go to us individually. Unfortunately, right now it goes to all of us at the same time. So if you send it 5 times, we all get copies. But we're fixing that. So Parks at SMRPD, anything you want, and I'm going to write it up on the board when we get to one of the next items.
And I know in that water system, it's kind of something that has evolved over the last 60, 70 years, and there was a guy that worked for Orange Unified, and he knew the whole system and then had to turn this valve and that valve, and he kind of was like, I think he retired now, so whatever going on underground, no one's gonna even know anymore.
Amy did, before she left, contact the county parks office that was gonna be having to monitor those water switches down there and let them know which ones went to us and how crucial they are.
They
So
didn't know.
hopefully that won't be a problem, right?
No, now that they turned us off and we had to all run down there and scream and
Yeah,
holler,
right.
they know what they're doing.
Right.
We hope. James?
Just one thing I've kind of fallen into since I went to that inspection for the school on a Saturday, fallen into taking care of the little pony and the goat. And I could use help because I'm going there 4 days a week now to take care of them, and they should be cleaned up daily. They're getting fed by the teachers, but they should be cleaned up daily. So 2 or 3 more people would be really helpful. If anybody wants to help take care of little ponies and goats.
So if you know anyone who might, want to stop in 1 day a week to do the maintenance just in the horse corral where there's 1 goat and 1 little miniature horse, and get with Jane. Or Parks at SMRPD.
Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. I'm very excited about it. I'm really happy that we've got somebody in. Now that she's gone, I'll say, I think we're gonna probably need her for way longer than 3 months.
Yeah.
So, because what I wanna do and wanna see is that we get it all fixed up the way that we want it. See kids coming in, and then we do a search to find the person that we wanna be there. Because I wouldn't wanna go out and do a search now and bring people in and say, oh, by the way, you've gotta do this and this, and look what it's. So we're gonna get it fixed up, look better. I think we're gonna have a way better time. Like Shay said, we had somebody who walked away from came and visited. That doesn't mean they were qualified, but we don't want the site or the fact that it looks the way it does. So anyway, I'm very excited. So next item, as everybody knows, Lisa resigned last month, and I want to let everybody know that we're accepting notices from anybody, from all Canyon residents. From tonight for 20 days. I put down the wrong date. It's actually 15 days of period, but I'd rather do 20 so nobody can say we screwed up and made a mistake.
So does it change the date from October 15th?
Yeah,
So we're changing this to 20 days?
Yeah, so it's going to be from tonight through 20 days. We're accepting anybody that wants to be considered to come up and join us and talk to your community and listen to all their loving concerns. And so that'll be until October 20th, roughly. What's today? 15th?
24th.
He's got a calendar.
24th?
Okay, so we're doing 7, 14. So until October 15th is right. I'm sorry, I put the days wrong. So get your application in, tell us you want to do it. You don't have to say anything other than, I want to do it. But it would really be nice if you would say more stuff, because the 3 of us, and Ron, 4 of us, have to look through yeah. So anyway, so that's the first thing to everybody to think about. Not yet. What's going to happen is, here I have stuff for anybody that wants to read. Here's the law for how it works. So the appointment process. So one of the parts is I had to call the county and tell them we had a resignation, so I did that right away. Since there's a quorum of us left, we get to appoint the new person who's going to fill the position. And we have 60 days to make the final appointment. So the 61st day will be October 28th. So I come home on October 25th. So I'm proposing that we have a special meeting on October 26th or 7th to appoint the replacement person. So I'll talk with Shay and you, and I want Ron to come. I told him he's going to just have to say his wife's going to die. He has to be home that day. So we will, if we do that, we do everything right. If we decided that we didn't want to appoint somebody, We could go to a general election and have an election, which would cost us a lot of money. If we don't want to do anything on the 61st day, the Board of Supervisors can appoint somebody, and so that's always an option. And that's kind of pretty much it in a nutshell. Bob?
I'd like to point out one thing. There's been a lot of confusion about this in the past because it's an uncomfortable thing to do. But all the deliberations for choosing a new director need to be done in public. It's not a closed session matter. It's frequently confused with a personnel issue, and it's not a personnel issue.
No, it's all done in public, so I'm just letting you know that's what it is. I'm gonna, as the people come in, we have one person who's applied for the space or the position already. As they come in, I'm gonna be sending it to everybody, or Bev, you might have to because I won't be around. If you would send them in, okay, if you would send them in by email, that'd make it easier because we all get them. We're gonna put them in Dropbox so everybody can see who's asking to fill the position. And everybody needs to know that whatever you write it's your first foray into becoming a public servant. So whatever you write and send us, whatever you write and send us is now public information. So you decide if you want to tell us, whatever you want to tell us about you. So, so think about that, and let me tell you something else. So the responsibility for the board members is that when this stuff comes, everybody needs. You have to get the stuff, you have to decide how are you going to rank the people, and then when we come together for a meeting, we'll be asking everybody, okay, where do you want to go? Who do you want to fill the position?
Do I understand that we interview these people?
We can interview them, but we don't have to interview them, because, so your thing that you're sending is kind of, your interview part. So talk about your skills, what you want to bring. It's kind of a resume of what I'm going to do if I come here and why I'm good for the job and what I can do it, or.
In the past, when there was.
Linda.
Thank you, Craig. Since there was an election held not too long ago, and there were more candidates who were running than slots there were to fill, it seems to me that we had people who ran for office who put a lot of time and effort into that and demonstrated very candidly and garnered some votes from people. The community has already voted for people. And it would seem to me that the most logical thing to do would be to, if they're either or both of them are still willing to serve, would be to take the next highest vote getter, put that person in. If that person isn't willing to serve, then take the next highest vote getter. I think the third person withdrew from the race, but it just seems to me the people have already voted on those folks. We already know that there's a community
residents did.
Yeah, attitude about this. So it seems to me presumptuous on your part to be selecting someone when people have already run for office.
Well, it might seem to be presumptuous, but that's not the law, and it's not the way the law works in any manner. So you should get a copy of what we sent out, because that's why I printed it for everybody. So everybody understands what the rules are, so nobody's going to be surprised. So I already talked to the officer of elections at the county. Now we're in this minimum 15-day, we're going to make it a 20-day window. And the appointment will happen on the 26th or the 27th. And I'll be back, yeah.
So the discussion.
You're not first. Brett's first.
I just want to say that maybe at the next meeting, the people that are interested could, actually stand up and make, why they want to be on the board, or just speak before the vote. Would be a good way of.
We could do that on the day. We can do that on the day we're going to do it, if you guys, what do you want? You want to do that?
That's what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
But it's not a public, it's a decision by the board, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
they
Yeah, the
would be
past
speaking
people
to
that were
board.
interested,
So-
Rick did it one time, a
The
bunch of
board
people.
needs to listen to it, not the whole.
Well, that's what it'd be, in front of the board.
Right, but it's all,
We're speaking to the
everything
board.
is open session, there's no,
Yeah,
it's not like we're talking about a teacher.
they're
or
making their
something.
plea to the board why they wanna be on there, and that, just to let you know.
Well, we'll see, we've got one so far, we'll see how many we get, and we can decide, everybody gets 5 minutes or 2 minutes, or if we get 30 people, it might only be 2 or 3 minutes, but yeah, we can do that, that's
Kinda nice.
good.
How are they gonna,
Oh, I'm sorry.
how are they gonna send them in?
Any way you want. So I was handed one. Handing me a paper is good. I would almost rather that it got sent to Parks at SMRPD.
PO Box 8?
Oh, no, that's online if you want to do that. But PO Box 8 gets to Bev, and Bev gets it, but I'd like to have them as many ways as possible, because I'm going to be in Africa, and I want to see what you get too. I don't think we'll get email every day, but I should get it sometimes. Gee.
I think what Linda was trying to say is we understand that it is an appointed job for you guys to appoint that. But I think that a lot of the residents who voted in the last election, and we had a third runner-up, would like the board to consider that that was indeed the residents' choice, the community at that time. And since that, we know that that person who was the next runner-up is willing to take this job and will apply. I think I would personally like to ask you to keep that as an open mind and consider what the voice of the community was at that time during the election.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else before we move on?
So the discussion is only gonna be done on the day that the appointment is made, is that right?
Yeah, because
And
the
then
window that closes is after I leave, so I'm
Okay,
sorry
so
I won't
then,
be here.
as the applications come in, they're gonna be put in the Dropbox?
Well, we're gonna, yeah, if you, somehow we'll get them in a Dropbox, I'll teach you how, or we'll get somebody to teach you how. If they email to me, they'll go in there.
The
Okay, now-
Dropbox, because there hasn't really been much of anything in that Dropbox. And I'm wondering if the emails that have gone on since last meeting, I thought that those emails between the board members, et cetera, were going to be in the Dropbox.
Do you think you have a
Communication.
misconception that there are not a lot of communication? So if you all think that we're sending emails back and forth all the time and we're keeping secrets from you,
No, I'm not talking
no,
about
I mean, let me,
secrets or anything.
well, I could get that as an undercurrent.
No,
There isn't something in Dropbox because nothing's happened.
Okay,
But actually, I put 2 or 3 things in.
I have some here.
Well, I'm just saying, I've been going to the Dropbox and I haven't really seen much in there, and so I'm just wondering if that is still going to happen then,
Yeah.
because I haven't seen anything. I think somebody said something was in there today or yesterday, which I didn't know.
The only things I know I put in were the agendas.
Can you refresh on how to access the Dropbox?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so everybody sends me an email and said, or no, everybody who signed the list, I went into Dropbox, they put all your names in, you got an invitation. So did at least somebody get that invitation?
I did
not.
I didn't.
I did not.
Are you raising your hand because you did get it?
I
I
did,
did.
but that's
I did.
the only way that I can get into that Dropbox is go back to that email, so I have to save that, well, that's what I'm saying.
It didn't download to your
No,
computer
no,
and
no,
show.
no. When you open so you're gonna get a thing that says Greg Bates or SMRPD invited you to join the SMRPD public folder.
I have no Dropbox on my computer.
Okay, so whatever Judy did, you gotta click on something and say, yes, download Dropbox to my computer, or it won't be there.
I
got it.
I know, but the,
Don't have it anymore.
Well, okay, so.
I've got Dropbox, but I don't know how to get into that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the.
That's something that can be worked on, a better system.
Tom asked if I could put it all on the website, but I can't. Maybe Ron can,
You know, if you
yeah.
put it on the website as PDFs, everybody could access it. No need to.
Yeah. I can't do that, that's beyond my
That's easy to
capabilities.
do. It's very easy to do.
Who's currently working with the web guy, and do we have do we still have a commitment from our web person to continue on with us?
Somebody that Ron's working with, but if we don't pay him more money, he's not gonna do something new for us.
Oh, is that
A good part of what's
the
up there
issue,
is
money?
Some people work for a living on this.
I'm sorry, Bob?
A good part of what's already on the site is PDF. How about I communicate something to you afterwards?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So the board's responsibility is to review all the applications, rank them, and then we're gonna select one on the day that we have them thing. So if Judy got in a Dropbox, I know I did the right thing. So when you get this invitation, you accept the invitation, and somewhere on that screen, it's gonna say download Dropbox. If you're okay, so if you click on download Dropbox, it's gonna show up. It shows up in my computer. I have a PC down on the little bottom.
It's a little box.
Anybody uses Apple? Did it work for them?
Works for me.
Okay, so we've got an Apple and a PC that it worked for, so it's there. Call me if it's not working and tell me what your screen says, because it's like really, it's 2 clicks.
Can you send it out again? The invitation?
So I'm gonna, okay, if you didn't get it, write it down, because after the last meeting, I went through and put all like 40, if you gave me that name, I put everybody's email in. Make sure you print, because I was like guessing on some of people's printing. So print nice, but I sent like 40 of them out, so we know it works, and call me if it
Works,
doesn't
but
work.
it's not perfect.
Sorry?
Never mind.
Yes.
When you send out the notification of that meeting for the election, could you on there put a list of the candidates? There are a lot of people that don't have computers.
Yeah, on the agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Would you
we can do
please?
that.
Okay.
You might be making that. Okay, so print really good, because maybe some of you didn't get it because I couldn't read your writing. But just call me, 2815, and I'll sit down on my computer, we'll look at you tell me what yours says, and we'll hook you up.
I have one other question I keep getting to ask about the Dropbox. Okay, somebody sends you an email request saying I would like it. You send them an invitation to the link. Are you the only one to send
Thank you.
that? Or when I get that from you, can I forward it over to some people saying, here, click on this link and add yourself?
Okay, I believe that you can.
I haven't tried it.
When you get it, and it first opens up, I think it'll say, do you want to invite other people? You can invite anybody you want. So anybody else's email you know, invite them. It's in the group.
I need
Now,
it.
in my men's charity group, we had a slight problem the other day because I was on my wife's computer and her Dropbox was full, and I said, oh, it's her computer, I'll just delete some files off of it.
Is that why you're going to Africa?
So I got in hot water because I didn't realize that my wife's computer, so when we invited them, when I invited all of you, everybody got invited with administrator privileges. So I learned this week that that's a bad thing. So I'm probably going to re-invite everybody, and I might have to change the name of that folder because you all can delete anything you want. I mean, I have a read this first, and it says in big letters, do not delete anything. Save it to your computer, but when you're in Dropbox, don't delete it. So I might have to talk to Marty about that, but somehow, so you may all get re-invited because I have to make everybody not an administrator. Yeah. Okay, so next item on the list, Doris House fundraiser sponsorship. So we got a request from Mike Beck about months ago, and I forgot to put it on the agenda, so he sent me a nasty email like, what am I, chopped liver? And so it made it to the agenda, which brings me to another agenda item that never made it to the agenda from Phil. So here's what I'm going to suggest, is that don't ask me at Pizza Club when I've been drinking to put something on the agenda for you.
I have no idea.
Okay, so parks@smrpd.org. Email goes to all of us, and so then there's way less chance that we won't forget. So Phil and I talked, and that seemed like the best thing we could do to make sure that it gets there. So if it's not in writing, don't hold your breath, I'm getting old enough that I don't remember stuff by the time I get home, so. I have copious notes so that I don't remember what I'm supposed to tell you tonight.
If it goes to all of you,
That's safer.
but what if Tom looks at it and goes, oh, well, Shay will take care of it, and Shay looks at it and go, oh, well, Greg will take care of it, and Greg looks at it and says, oh, Tom will take care of it.
Then we're all guilty.
Now, since I'm the one who writes the agenda up now, although I hope to pass it to our secretary soon, like she'll be doing the October 26th, you'll be doing the next two agendas.
So,
But Ron will help you.
so you think that'll be goof-proof?
No, that's just as good as I can think of how it could be.
Okay.
I mean, if you send me an email directly, it sits there, and then I put it in an agenda place, and then I pull them all out, but I've missed some.
Okay.
I missed her daffodil thing for a couple months, so. That's, unless there's somebody who's got a better idea, I'm all ears, because I'm not an expert about most things. Bob?
I'd just like to add one other thing. I saw an exchange indicating that things got on the agenda from being berated by the constituents, and that is enough to get noticed, but that shouldn't be the deciding factor of whether something goes on the agenda. I would hope in your setup of putting things on the agenda, someone is making a decision, should this be on there? Is this something we should be considering?
Yeah, so far I haven't gotten anything that I didn't want to have on the agenda, and if I got something and I didn't think it was appropriate for the agenda, I'd call the other board members and say, we have a request for this to be on the agenda, I don't think it's appropriate. Well, I should rephrase it, I have gotten some things, and people asked me to put things on the agenda, and I said, I wouldn't vote for this. So there have been requests for agenda items that I've rejected because it didn't fit a lot of stuff that I think the district's about.
Okay, the thing that it should amount, should be based on, is it proper district business?
So I have rejected a few that I didn't think were proper district business.
Yeah, and whether you would vote for it or not has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was so far out that I just said, no, we're not.
Back to the lower side.
Okay, so to make the agenda item a little meatier, Laura's House had a hike last year, and having a hike this year, and they asked if we would be a sponsor for them. I don't know if we did it last year.
What is Laura's house?
Laura's House is it's like a halfway house. It's a place for abused women to go to get away from the spouses. They take their kids. It's a shelter. They have several of them around the area.
We didn't do that last year.
Yeah, I don't think we did it last year. So we got asked, and so my first thought was, it's a hike, it's in our neighborhood, I'm okay with it.
What's in your neighborhood?
The hike.
Okay, but not Laura's house?
Oh, no. Well, we wouldn't know because the people who live next door might know, but nobody knows where their shelters are.
I don't think there is one within the district.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But people who, they don't take people based on where they live. If somebody from our district needed to go there, they would go.
Yeah, we have,
It serves all communities.
they can't tell you who, but when it came up that, why are you doing that, I called them. There have been like 66 women and their children, 66 women and however many children they took from Tribuco, Silverado, Majeska, who've been there. So they do serve our area, and but that goes back over like since 2008 or 2009. So yeah, but that's not why I thought they were an okay fit for us. I thought they were okay fit because the county is going to be there. The supervisor's going to be there, the sheriff's going to be there, it's a hike. Hike was pretty much my number one thing, because Phil and I talked and he said, well, if you say that, what about this? And then we talked, he said, well, if you say that, what about this? So what it came to me was, it was a hike, it was in our neighborhood. If it was just...
Baker
around. Yeah.
That's where it was last year.
Yeah, so so Phil goes, well, it's a charity group, you're giving them a thing, so you do that for all charity groups. And I said, no, it's a hike. So for me, in our district, it was a hike, I was okay, gets people on the outside, recreation, parks, and open space. If it was just a charity group that said, So Shay and I talked about it, and can I use your example? So Shay said, well, what if CLCF wanted to do something? We have hikes every week. And they said,
No, I said if we did.
She said,
We
if
don't.
we did. She said, we
I
don't
mean-
want to, she's learning philosophy from Phil. And I said, well, if you're doing it every week, it's pretty much your business, and maybe you should have your own insurance. And so, even though they'd be here in the canyon doing it, that was kind of my thought process on why I would say that. So that was only me, we still have the rest of the board. So, oh, and they aren't asking for money. All they're asking for is sponsorship, which will allow our insurance to cover them.
Just wanted to mention, Connie did parking for them at their event last year in Baker Canyon.
I was hoping you weren't going to say Connie'd been a resident there, because that'd be illegal.
Connie and
No, I'll
Cynthia
tell the
for-
next son of a gun.
Candy Watch handled parking for them.
Mike, are
last year.
you a leader on the
Yeah,
hike?
I'm one of the hike leaders, and the other one is Karen Klein, who wrote 50 Hikes in Orange County. She's the editorialist for the LA Times. Lives in the Middle East, you know who Karen is?
No.
And I think someone else in the group is Fire Safe or ICL might be sponsoring
Fire Safe
them.
Council is going to have a booth, and we're going to be the emergency and information booth.
So we do have some canyon residents that have been participating in this in the past.
So that was kind of my process. We need to make sure that the Children's Center takes brochures and does stuff too.
One thing, the word sponsor really implies to most people money. So maybe you could phrase it like the district is hosting Laura's House Hike. If you say hosting, because the district can host anything, and that doesn't imply that the district is giving money to Laura's House.
That's just
Or
the word.
endorsing, but I think hosting is probably the, or partnering. You know, another word, a word other than sponsor. What totally threw me off was sponsor.
Okay. That's just the word that's been used since I've been on the board, so yeah.
Yeah, well, and Ron had told me that he had gotten some different, he'd worked up different levels of what you might call sponsorship or supporting with different words, and somehow that had gotten lost. But I think just maybe be careful about the word sponsor. It sounds like you're giving money.
Well, so that was the thing we clarified, and Phil and I made up about it. So, is there a motion from the board to do the hosting of Laura's House event?
I motion that we host Laura's House event.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is last month Sherry Medic came and made a complaint that we hadn't honored her open records request from about 4 months prior.
I talked to Sherry Sunday. She could not be here tonight. She has to be up at 3:30 in the morning. She asked me to relay to you that she had sent you her email, phone number, and mailing address, and she still has not heard anything from the attorney, either in any way whatsoever. So she just asked me to relay that to you.
Okay, or you could have waited till I got done.
Oh, I'm
and then-
sorry.
But now that we know that, that's good to know. I made some copies of emails from the attorney to multiple members of this board, and I would like to say that I was very offended at her remarks, because maybe I'm thin-skinned some days, but it seemed like it was directed directly to me, and I'm the president, so maybe I get it, and that's okay. But Sherry is one of the smartest people that comes to these meetings. Yeah. So she said, well, about 4 months ago I did this. It was a year ago that she did that. And actually, she made the open request earlier than that, because the attorney responded in October, so she made her request in September. Sherry's not uninformed, and I don't know how she could make that mistake. I don't believe she could. Anyway, I have copies. I have 10 copies for whoever's interested. I'm going to go through and do some highlights to point out what the board did, because she impugned our reputation that we did not do what we were supposed to do. and I take great offense to that. And we make mistakes. You know, everybody on this board is here for their first foray into public service. And it's working better and it's working not better. But it's our first foray into public service. We can't break the law, and everybody holds our feet to the fire, and I'm okay with that. And tell us, because if we make a mistake, we need to fix it. I mean, at least we didn't hire somebody like OCTA did for a whole bunch of money and do it in a closed session, which everybody should have known was illegal. So we're trying to get better at it, but you know, I don't, if you have a problem, just tell me, but don't make stuff up. So first, it was last September or earlier, but probably around September that it happened. That's for you, that's for you. So I'm sorry, I only have like 10 copies, but whoever wants, maybe you could share. They're here for anybody. So I called the attorney and I said, you know, this happened, what do we do? You know, what's the issue? So she went back and had her paralegal pull up all the emails that had happened. So there were more than this, and I've taken out the logos and tried to make it smaller, so I've got it down to a couple pages now.
Some of us don't even know what this is about.
Okay, so an open records request is anybody in the district or anybody in the world maybe can come here and say, you know, I want to know what you did about this or that, and send me, I want all your emails. So she requested something along the lines of she wanted all the emails between the board and the county, because when the Abbey project was going on, or it was about, you know, who were we talking to, and I don't think it was Marnell. Barbara, do you remember?
No, because this would have been last year. So.
Yeah, so it was about us and the Abbey, and she was unhappy with what was happening. So she filed an open records request. I'd never seen one before, so I sent it off to the attorney. I said, help, what do we do? You know, we want to do the right thing. So first off, Betsy, our attorney, said you should have gotten all the emails. Jennifer had them, who's her paralegal. And I asked her about how much it had cost, and she didn't have, I didn't want her to spend a lot of time. She guesses between her time, the paralegal's time, the cost was about $1,000. And there were a couple of board members that didn't answer any of her emails. And I sent out to all the, I didn't want to be involved because I didn't want to have somebody coming back and say, well, Greg, you like cold emails. So I said, you deal with it, you all send your stuff. Two of the board members never corresponded with her in any point, in any matter. And Betsy says, no, at this point she would have to make a new request, and we'll see why that is as we go down a little bit. They had all the materials ready for Sherry, and Sherry never picked them up. She points out that there's case law that at a certain point it expired. So the other thing that Sherry asked for last meeting was, here's my address, why didn't you email them to me? We didn't email them to Sherry because there's a cost associated with emailing the stuff. And Sherry said, I'm sorry, we didn't.
Physically mail.
We weren't going to physically mail it because there's a cost associated. Sherry said, don't do that, I'll pick them up or email them to me. So that's why we didn't plan that they were going to be sent to Sherry's house. So if you go down, I think I've got them in order, I'm not positive. So the paralegal says, yes, there was a letter sent there on October 9th. So even though we had told Sherry that it would cost her if we sent that, because that's what the attorney said it would be, they sent a letter. Go down, is this the address? It is. Here's a letter from Shay to all of us, and it says, unfortunately, Sherry Medic has not been reading her emails of much lately. But I think if you all look, October 20th of 2012, we all know that Sherry was really busy doing things. But
She had an issue with her mother.
well, she had a lawsuit that she was working on.
Also.
Yeah. So I don't care if you don't like me, but make sure you don't do something and then it's for a different reason. I'm okay with that.
Do you need her email address?
No, we don't need her email address because we got the email, we got her we got her mailing address from Shay, the letter was sent to her.
And I give you her telephone.
Gave her cell phone number. If we go down a little bit farther, there's a message from Bev, and Elizabeth, our attorney, confirms that with her paralegal, why don't you send Bev a copy of the letter? So I don't know if you get a copy or if it went to our P.O. box. So, and here, then the next one is, here's the email address it was sent to. The paralegal says, I didn't receive an undeliverable message, which they originally did. The email said delivery was complete, but she's not certain. She goes, but I think it was just saying it didn't bounce back a receipt like I requested. And she mailed the stuff to Sherry. Okay, which wasn't, we didn't have to do. So I'm thinking we're going as far as the law said. Now, so Bev sent the email. Bev sent Elizabeth, the attorney, the email. Shay gave her the address. We emailed it. We U.S. mailed it. It didn't bounce back. So I go, well, what does this mean? And she goes, as far as attorneys are concerned, if you email and you U.S. mail and it doesn't come back, that means the person got it. Now, I'm going to call the attorney and say, just send it again. But I want you all to know that I'm very unokay with what happened. And I don't care what you call me. We're all going to be polite. We've already made that rule. Don't call me late for dinner, please. That's my only request. But I don't want to see, I just feel mad about this, that this was thrown out as if we were deficient, defective, and we weren't being responsive. And if you want to get me mad, that's what you need to do. So, so now let's hear if anybody else has got a problem or knows something I don't know. Debbie.
Oh, my question is, you had stated that it cost the district $1,000 to send all that last year?
It cost the district $1,000 for the attorney's time, the paralegals' time to pull it all together. They emailed us, they typed, collated.
So is it gonna cost us again to resend it again?
Well, no, as far as I know, they should, well, they didn't say, but I'm sure they have the file there. So I don't think that we're going to make Sherry have to file a new request, although the attorney wasn't real pleased that this all came up again at this late date. So this is a year after that happened.
That's all I know.
And
So you're saying you're going to be the nice guy and send it again, even though you don't have to? Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
But
Now,
the attorney's gonna charge us to send it again.
oh, it's going to cost hardly anything. I mean, we're talking minutes probably.
Why don't you set it in more of a written signature for the receipt?
Yeah,
Registered.
certified.
Then it's taken care of, it's, oh, what?
Well, they don't, I guess attorneys, that's not considered standard practice. Because Sherry didn't even want it mailed because it would have cost her money. We mailed it because we were trying to be good guys.
Why would it cost
That would cover
Well, not only post.
Rules
Yeah.
about things like that.
So when you ask for open records request, if you want the actual stuff mailed, she was going to put it on a disc. It's like, no, never mind, I'll come and get it or email it to me. The really sad thing is, and I've never asked the attorney because I'm keeping my feet out of this, is that I don't think there was anything that I don't think there were maybe 10 emails, if that. I don't know what they were. So I haven't asked to see it. I'm going to have it sent to Sherry. I don't want to see it. But everybody needs to think, it costs money to do stuff. I think if we did it again, I'd just say, give me your stuff, we're not spending any money on the attorney for it. But if it gets to be a hassle, it's going to go. I'm not going to deal with it, because I don't want somebody coming back and saying that I did something wrong.
I think because the request was made through legal channels, we were obligated to use an attorney to fulfill the obligation. That's what I'm thinking. If you and I decide, and Shay decides, hey, let's just send the stuff, somebody could come back and say, oh, but you didn't comply with some little regulation or law, so it's almost better to use the attorney, even though it's a pain in the butt.
Bob, what do you think? Did you ever get those when you were on the board? So did you guys do them by hand, or what did you do?
Sometimes we did, and sometimes we used the attorney, depending on how extensive it was.
Okay, well, the other thing that I did mention last month, and that Sherry complained about, that we weren't giving her everything she asked for, it's because she asked for all this stuff, and the attorney goes, well, she's already got this part because she referenced it in her records request, so we don't have to send her that again. You don't get to get everything out of everything that we've ever written. So there were things that she asked for that she didn't get, and the attorney said, no, you don't get this. You only get what you can get, and that's what the attorney gave her. So I just felt it was better to do it because, like I said, Sherry's one of the smartest people in the room. I wanted it to be done just perfect. I hate that it cost us $1,000 or around $1,000 to do it. You know, maybe it was as low as $800, maybe it was as high as $1,200. But everybody needs to think about it. What costs money? And is this a worthwhile thing to do? So is there anything else I can answer for anybody? Do you feel like we've not stepped up to the plate and done our duty? Okay. You just want to go home, I know you do.
Yeah.
Okay, next issue is ethics violations complaints, which kind of dovetails. So, Tom, you wanted to put this on the board. You want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and I think Greg hit on it, this is a dovetail, that as a board, we make every effort to do everything ethically and by the law. And a lot of times, maybe we may step over the line not because it's intentional, it's insidious, or we're trying to do something underhanded, but because maybe we just send an email to 3 people and we shouldn't have done that. My point is, we've made every effort to comply with the ethics. And you as the public and board members have a right to challenge or question or bring up any topic. That's what the open session is for. However, the only thing I personally am concerned about, and this is what Greg was talking about, that it's unfounded personal attacks because you don't like somebody, or just basic, I feel this is this way and you did this wrong, without some sort of documentation or some sort of validation of what it is. That's just disruptive to the board. It doesn't do any good to get in a fight and start arguing about who did what and why. My point is, if you feel that any board member has broken the Brown Act or AB 123, come forward with some documentation and simply say.
Aren't the Brown Act and AB 123 documentation, and they are online and they are?
No, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying,
Okay, I'm
Chief.
sorry.
If you say that I broke the Brown Act by running an ad in Christmas in the Canyons paper, come forward with that portion of the document that said, this is what you're in violation of, not you're in violation of AB 123.
I believe she did.
Pardon?
She did it.
Well, that's not maybe the best example, because we all had a copy of what it was. It wasn't that, so that's the most obvious example, right? We all had the newspaper. Shay goes, I don't think you can do this, and he goes.
No, she had the reference.
Yeah, she had the reference.
From AB 123.
Yes.
Right, and I read AB
You read the part
123.
about mass mailings. This didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay, so, wait, let's get back. I think we're missing his point, but we can go to that point in a
Yeah, I would
second.
like to make a point after it.
So what Tom's saying is, bring your stuff and show us where we screwed up and we're gonna fix it. But if you just come and say, Greg, you violated the Brown Act because your shirt's purple and we don't like purple shirts. Or, no, let's say you don't even say that. If you said that, you would have brought us something that we could fix. Now, so, are we okay with that?
She was specific.
No, in that case, she was perfectly right. He's using that as an example. When you do it, bring the paper and show and say this. So now we went to the attorney,
And the attorney said she wasn't
The
right.
attorney responded to the mass mailings question because that's what she was asked.
Well, the attorney
Let me ask
responded.
this, do you have any response from FPPC?
it wouldn't, I'm glad you asked that question. Because I went around and around with FPPC and with the district attorney's office, and I said, look, we get all this Brown Act violation stuff. What do we do? And he goes, go back and deal with it.
Yeah.
Brown Act violation is, if we do something wrong, at the next open meeting, we talk about it, that's the end of the Brown Act
This
violation.
wasn't Brown Act, it was ethics.
But, okay, so now that's Brown Act part, that's, I went to the district attorney. FPPC won't comment on something that's already been done. But, guess what's coming up in a couple months?
Yeah.
Christmas in the canyons. So, the attorney has already taken what we did last year and said they're gonna do this again. What can, out of this, what can they do?
By the way, how do they not comment on something that's already been done? Did they comment on something in the future? That's a little difficult.
That wasn't
No,
what they
no.
told me.
If we can go to FPPC and we can say, we're doing this, is this good or bad? And they'll say, don't do that, take this out, you're perfectly fine. Because we had already printed it and sent it out, they wouldn't make any comment on it. So
Okay, then you wouldn't mind someone making a personal inquiry? I'd like to do that.
Oh no, Shay kind of already called them and said, what do we do about this?
She didn't make it. I'll do it.
Okay.
And may confirm what you're saying?
If, I did have a long conversation with our attorney on this very matter.
Yes, she's very supportive.
And basically, the way the law reads is that as public officials, now because we're part-time public officials, we're kind of a little different. We were full-time public officials, and we had a business, and we were trying to promote our business and get taxpayer money to promote it. That's the problem. Because the district, the Parks District, loaned money to Christmas in the Canyons to start the venture, and we use that money even though we replenish it. We cannot put out any, say, printed material and mail it, and that has a director's name in it, which implies that they're soliciting for votes. Now, you can have your name listed, Bob, excuse me, I had a lengthy talk with the attorney, and I'm telling you what she told me. You may not
I
agree.
believe that's true, that's what she told you. That's not what the issue is.
Okay, the issue, okay, I can have my name in the paper one time. Where the question was when I had welcome from Silverado Sheriff, and because my name appeared twice and my picture appeared in there, I was somehow violating a Brown Act or an ethics code. However, I was able to run the ad, and I'm getting validation on that. There's no problem in running the ad.
I think there is, but how about, I'll just make my inquiry, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll admit it in public.
Okay, the way I understood it.
You save all your documentation for us, so we'll all be happy.
Yes, if the printed material is not forced onto someone by being mailed, if it's picked up.
We're good.
Or distributed in a public place, it says also, not just mailed, but distributed in a public
I
place.
fell short that meeting when Betsy was here because I should have said more information that I knew about 81234 and that mass mailing. And when she said you skated by on a technicality because you didn't send it to people's P.O. boxes or their residences, you got away with it, but you shouldn't do that in the future.
We won't.
I did not say, but it was placed in places of business within the canyon. I was just trying to let the whole thing diffuse.
Okay, Recreation Committee report.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I had something to say regarding
Yeah.
the ethics. Who do I talk to when a member of your board came to my workplace as a teacher and threatened me with my job? With losing my job?
I think didn't we talk about what we're gonna do about that?
No, actually, I haven't heard from Tom, and he's the one that I'm speaking with, not you. I'm speaking about Tom. Haven't heard anything from him.
I don't understand the question.
When you came to my work and you said that you wanted the children to add something to your community interest group, that was the very next day, you said, remember, I'm the one that signs your checks.
I never said that.
You wrote it in the email. You said, I stopped by to sign my checks. When I saw Jenny,
Well,
I informed her that I signed, you said I informed Jenny that I stopped by to sign her checks. Its copies are going around.
Yeah, but
You said it twice.
I didn't say I'm the one that signs your checks. I said I stopped by the Children's Center to sign the checks
That Megan left for
that
him.
Megan left for me to sign. I
Yes.
didn't know who the checks were made out to.
Right.
And while I was at the Children's Center, I was informed that there was a poster that was gonna be there. And this was initiated by one of the teachers who
I think
said,
you asked for that poster.
excuse
Yeah.
me, Bob, I'm talking.
I'm sorry,
It's in the email I have in
I
here.
said
Okay,
that that wasn't
okay.
possible to have a poster ready or the children to go on a field trip. I made it clear that that wasn't possible, but you came over, talked with one of the staff, and then came to me and you said, you're going to get this done. And I said, I'm sorry,
did
I'll
not
have
say
to
that.
say no about that. And
I
I
did
gave
not
several
say-
excuses.
In your
That's not
email,
the
was
way
it
the
to the whole board,
conversation
or
went.
was it just a partial of the board? Who was the email to after?
Yeah, who was that
The
email
email
directed
was
to?
sent to 3 people.
And those people weren't part of the board?
Yes.
Yes, they were
Just some
part
of
of the
them.
board.
It may
It
have
wasn't
been.
the whole
Everybody but one person on the
I
board.
think it was sent to Greg.
Oh, okay.
It was sent to Greg, it was sent to Ron, and it was not sent to Shay. So
Okay.
3 people had a communication there.
And Lisa Collins.
On Lisa calls, however,
And
she's not
somebody
on the
then
board.
took that email and sent it out to a whole bunch of people to
That's what I
solicit-
understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
That does
Yeah.
happen.
Well, I think, first of all,
Why wasn't that in the Dropbox?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
At the end of the email, it said, Director Jenny has got to go.
That's right. I said that, and I apologize for.
And I'm not the director,
for
I'm not,
my-
you did not apologize, excuse me, Tom.
no,
Excuse me, I am,
go ahead.
I apologize for my poor communication at that point.
And when was that apology? I'm sorry
Okay,
to
If you
interrupt.
think this is the apology right now, that's what I just heard him say.
Yeah, I'm not gonna continue if I'm gonna be constantly interrupted. What I was trying to say is that in the email, I reiterated the conversation, and at the end, I do agree that that statement was inappropriate, and I apologize for making that statement. However, I felt that,
Maybe you should stop now.
okay,
Yes.
I'll agree.
So,
Okay.
That was totally inappropriate.
What I find also alarming in it, is that as a director of,
apologize, do you really wanna? dig
yeah,
that
I
deep?
do wanna say
Well,
this.
that's good. What does
because
that
I've
apology
been-
mean? What does
I
that
don't
mean?
know.
I've been
done.
on this,
I don't know.
I've been coming to meetings for many years, for 2.5 years. There's been repeated emails going out to board directors with this stuff, and we talk about the Brown Act, and we talk about it, and we talk about ethics, and we talk about it, and it continues, and it continues, and it continues, and the community is just exhausted. I, as a board member, am exhausted dealing with it. Every meeting, this is mostly what we talk about. And we gotta get work done. But what alarms me is if you're going to be presenting yourself as someone who cares about the Children's Center, is trying to help the Children's Center and raise it up and everything, to put in your email that if I had a child there, I would pull them immediately. I just,
Yeah, I stand by
I'm
that
concerned
statement.
about that.
I stand by that statement based on the bigotry and the hypocrisy.
Can you stop talking?
Easy.
Okay.
Easy, big guy.
You're good, you
should.
Okay, well, if we're gonna continue this conversation.
I've never known Jenny Scott to be a bigot, never.
Absolutely
What
not.
are you
That
saying?
is wrong on so
Well-
many levels for you to say that.
Well, if you're against law enforcement, you.
Now,
Oh, I
Give me
have,
a On the
my
day?
family has a history of law enforcement
That's like saying I
and the
beat you because I was
FBI.
drunk.
Believe me, I believe in law
There should be no
enforcement.
reason why not to
But
support them.
I do, but what I
Gives
do
you
not
no right to do
support
everything.
is
So we should just
you
fire her.
using your position
Resign.
to intimidate and bully.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like.
Nice apology, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Forgive me for interrupting, but didn't you get your sign by the end of the day? After
Yes.
all this was said and
Thank
done,
you,
you did get
teacher.
your sign.
Teacher Kent got the
This
sign
is the
ready
teacher
for
that
you.
made the sign for you.
And the children with the handprints. That
And this
one of your
email was
emails-
sent after.
You
I
sent
was
the
told it
email
couldn't be
after.
done.
I called you on the phone
I
at
agreed to it. I made
4:45.
sure that it was done, and you still had to send that very rude email.
You still did.
But
after
she is
the
not
fact.
the director and has never claimed to be the director.
What couldn't be done was getting parental permission for the kids to attend the very next
Or
day.
even make
Tom.
the poster, really.
Okay,
I
so-
can't,
so
I can't do that.
I've done a little bit of background checking to try to see if I could figure out the course of events. Janet Lang said I can say that she was the one who came up with the idea and called Tom.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Well, we both talked
Tom?
about it. We didn't realize that it was going to be during nap time, that it's a vineyard, there may be
Okay,
alcohol served. There was a whole lot of issues.
Okay,
No
can I
prints
talk
hold.
first?
You
Okay,
may.
so Janet Lang started the whole thing, told Tom, come and get your poster, we're gonna do this for this event that's happening. So McKenna and Janet, or McKenna by herself, produced it. This email that Tom sent out came out before the poster, before he got the poster. So I think if we can all say we're never gonna do this again, we'd be good. Can we put it behind us, or do we wanna talk about it?
I'd like to see a resignation myself.
Me too. I
That's
think
a
it was a
pretty quick
violation
email.
of the law. I think you violated the law by
Was that
approaching
within
a
3
teacher
hours?
on her workplace during working hours with that sort of a thing. That sort of a threatening thing, and then saying, I'm the one that signs your checks, remember?
I never
You
said.
did it twice in the email. You write it down.
I never said.
Well, that, who's
I'm the
gonna
one
say
that
you did it,
signs your
Tom?
checks.
You're denying that. Who do you
I
have,
never-
who did not hear you say that?
I did not say I'm the
Well-
one that signs your checks.
You wrote it twice
No,
in the
I
email.
said, I
And
went there to sign checks.
somebody has the email, Shay, second
Yeah, I have
paragraph.
the email.
After I informed Jenny, I was there to
This is
sign the
original, it's
checks.
12:50.
It's twice. The second paragraph says, I informed Jenny I was there to sign the checks. That's he informed me by saying, I'm the one that signed your checks,
You call it
remember?
over and over again.
I
It's right
informed
there.
her that I signed the checks. He went there, okay, so,
That's the first one. I went there to sign the checks,
What's next?
and then I informed her that I signed the checks, and then,
somebody shut the
yes.
back door, please.
It's pretty simple, it's pretty plain there. It was intimidating. He came there to intimidate me on something I had no control over.
Okay, so it says in the first paragraph, on my way out I ran into Jenny who had just pulled up. I informed her that I had signed the checks, which is why he went. Megan said, go sign the checks. And he mentioned to Jenny that he had talked to McKenna about doing the poster for tomorrow's Appreciation Day. Everybody
Tomorrow,
got
for
the
the very
time-
next morning's appreciation event.
Everybody got the timeline?
Yeah, it was hours before. It was about
Let's
10
get-
hours before. Well,
Okay.
22 hours before.
Okay, so everybody's got the timeline. Megan says, go sign checks. He went to sign the checks. He sees McKenna. McKenna says, yeah, we're gonna do it. On the way out, he sees Jenny. Says, I signed the checks and I talked to McKenna about doing the poster for tomorrow's Appreciation Day.
You're correct.
Okay, in the whole rest of the thing, I could read it all if you'd like, but there's nothing more about signing
Why
your
don't you
checks.
read it all?
Yeah, why don't you read it all?
Okay, so his version of the conversation was, do we need to read it? Everybody's read it. It's just like
It's not that long.
Yeah, please.
We didn't have, Jenny said, we didn't have time to inform the parents to make a field trip.
Which
Is
was
that-
initially what
is
Janet
that-
and
is
Linda
that
had,
true?
Lisa had wanted. Of course it's true.
Okay.
This idea was given on Friday, we talked about it on Saturday.
Just tell me that was true, okay?
I
So-
did not have enough time to get permission or to see if their children would like to be
No way.
involved in this
Okay.
community event of
Okay,
making a poster.
so we all agree that the kids weren't gonna go, right? Everybody got that? The kids can't go on a field trip, there wasn't enough advance notice.
Right. That's
You
true.
didn't accept that.
No, that's not.
Okay, now let's go to the next. Tom says, I'm not talking about being there, but it would be
Understand.
nice to thank our local law enforcement. So Tom has agreed, if I'm reading this English correctly, the kids aren't going. Is that, everybody get that? Everybody get it?
Yes,
Okay.
I think.
Jenny, the kids don't even know about the shooting. That's good, right? Tom said, this is not about the shooting, it's about thanking law enforcement for serving our community. Is that okay with everybody?
Well, but earlier, wasn't
We're
it?
sticking to this conversation
I
right
know,
now.
so that's right. So earlier though, the thing was because of the shooting. We were gonna have the appreciation.
Yes,
Day.
it was because of the
Kids
shooting.
don't know about the shooting,
They didn't know.
Then why
Not
did we
the
do a poster?
preschoolers, and
because, okay, so.
it would
Yeah,
be
but they
meaningless
don't-
for
okay,
them
so
to
the
make a
kids don't know
park.
about the shooting, right?
I don't think they did. No, they
Tim,
took a
hold
field
it.
trip.
Tim, just hold it. So Griffin, the kids don't know about the shooting.
They don't understand the whole issue that happened. No, they don't.
They don't, everybody's on the same page. The kids don't know about the shooting.
They're preschoolers.
Correct.
Right? Everybody agrees the kids.
Yes, but the precursor to all this, the reason for, the motivation for having the
Do the kids
poster.
know about the motivation?
No, they don't,
Do
no.
the
No, but
kids
I'm
know
saying
any-
that now the story changes, now because they don't want it to be about the shooting, now it's about appreciation. So
Oh,
now the
no, wait,
issues change.
Okay, I'm gonna take exception to that, but just let me go through. So it's not about the shooting, they're having I keep wanting to call it firefighter appreciation. It's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Now, it was effectively a private event in the canyon to thank the law enforcement people. So the poster is gonna say, McKenna, thanks to our law enforcement. It ends up saying something like
No,
that.
it says thank you from Silverado Children's Center with handprints.
So
It doesn't
the
specify.
children never knew about the problem that happened, and their thank you letter doesn't address the problem that happened. The children just know, they're saying, thanks policeman, we like
No,
you.
they're not even saying that, they're just saying thank you.
Well, I mean, the gist is, they're saying, thanks policeman, we like you. Is everybody?
They
is that
actually
fair?
had no idea. McKenna asked them to put their handprints on the paper, and McKenna wrote the wordage because she wanted to keep peace with this meeting.
Okay, so what the police see when they get there is a thanks from the kid. Probably a good thing for the police to see. Okay, so Tom goes, and I wouldn't agree, and if that was me, I wouldn't have said this. You don't believe that it's appropriate to thank people that serve our community. Jenny says, well, I just don't want to make a big deal out of it. Because Jenny had, I'm sorry, I left a line out. Tom says this is not about the shooting, it's about thanking law enforcement for serving our community. Because we all agree the kids don't know anything about it. Jenny says, I don't think that would be appropriate. And Tom says, you don't believe it's appropriate to thank people that serve our community. Jenny says, well, I just don't want to make a big deal out of it. And everybody needs to understand that Jenny has done a yeoman's job. Amy left. Jenny's taken over all the paperwork and kept everything going. I'm sorry, because I thought you had other people that were going to help you do stuff, and I've only figured out today
I
that...
have had plenty of people helping me. I remember I went in, I told you I'd had Debbie, I've had Shay. Lots of people have been helping me. Amy on the phone.
Debbie's...
I'm not in there alone.
Mostly Debbie.
Greg, you're getting off the point.
Yeah, okay, so let's go back to the point. No, I wanted to thank her because I need everybody to understand that I can't thank Jenny enough for what she did, because
I get it.
we were left without somebody, so
Well,
everybody
if
needs to know.
Will you protect me and my integrity from one of your board members if you're so
Because
thankful
that's
of me?
exactly, Greg, what
Please.
I just went through. And you
how-
guys need to know, when you accept, when you're elected, when you're appointed, when you accept this job, no matter whether you're a 501, anytime you were working for the community, you answer to the community. The community does not answer to you. And this kind of action, the same as with Ms. Collins, cannot be accepted by public servants, by
Okay,
people
so-
working in public service.
Thank you, Judy. So, Tom says, so you won't even do a poster thanking them. I wouldn't have probably said that because McKenna already said she was gonna do a poster.
So we talk about you now, Greg?
Yeah, let's just continue
I'll
with
let you
what
listen.
Don
No,
said.
No.
It's okay.
Come on.
Okay, so we don't have time to do it. Okay, I'll let the community know that you're unwilling to help. At that point, Tom says he drove away.
Well, you forgot one thing in there. Before he said that, oh, maybe you didn't. What was the
No,
last
I
line?
didn't. I'm not leaving anything out. We're going through it line by line.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll let the community know.
Drove off and Jenny continued to make excuses.
Yeah, at that point I drove off and Jenny continued to make excuses. So then Tom does editorial comment that I wouldn't have done if it was me. If I had a child in SCC, I would pull them immediately. What are we teaching our kids? Lack of appreciation, disrespect for law enforcement.
Pretty broad statement.
Okay, so that's his opinion.
I want to say something
Let me get to the bottom first.
fast.
Many have approached me to close SCC and I have rebuffed them. we all know that the whole board is saying we're keeping the Children's Center open, we're paying the money that it takes to keep it open. However, with this sort of management, he understands their point of view. The director, Jenny, has got to go. So,
Sent to Ron Sheps and Greg Bates and Lisa Collins, which, including himself, makes a quorum of directors.
now let's go back to what I
Wasn't
said.
sent to you?
Wasn't sent to you?
No, it wasn't.
Let's go back to what I
I'm
said.
glad I didn't get involved.
Yeah.
Let's go back to what I said before. First, we don't like emails like this, but an email like this isn't a Brown Act violation. The
It's
Brown
an
Act,
ethical.
the Brown Act violation is when somebody responds. Because you can have, I believe it was inappropriate what he did, and I wouldn't
But he
have done it.
responded later on in the email chain. I have copies of that. He responded.
I disagree on the fact that this is not a Brown Act violation when it is asking for the removal of an employee and it's sent to a quorum of directors. It's influencing some sort of vote of this board. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I was under the apparently mistaken impression that Jenny was the acting director, so I wasn't ready to crucify Tom over this. Jenny doesn't believe that she was the acting director.
Never was.
Where was that stated that she
Where was
was
it
the
ever?
director?
No compensation for anything, and I said, I'm a teacher. I'll help administratively. And that's what I did. I had no decision-making powers. I can't hire, fire. I can't do anything. I can't even put my name on collection letters, which somebody wanted me to do. That's not my job. I'm a teacher, and I'm helping administratively so that we get the paychecks out, we get the tuition coming in, and we keep things like this until we find a director. And I let you know that several times I'm not the director. And you said, well, you're the quasi-director. And I said, no, I'm not the quasi-director. So the fact that he called me that, you're saying it wouldn't have been illegal had I been a quasi-director for him to speak to me that way. But since I'm just the teacher, to come on, it's very much a violation.
It's not appropriate in any case.
No, it's a violation to come on and talk to members of the staff as though they have decision-making powers. And
For a
they're-
sign.
Yeah,
For a sign?
for it,
Well,
for us.
actually-
How is that
If
issue
I-
that can be taken up to the board about the ethics of a sign should be drawn or not? How is that something that could be considered to be fired or not? How is that?
The sign griffin was presented to Tom by one of the teachers.
The sign
So that's
hadn't
where it
been
started.
made yet. McKenna was in the dark room. She was getting the kids resting.
Greg, you're
Tom
losing
comes
this
in
one.
booming.
I think
Tom came
regardless,
in with a booming voice,
Whoever
with little
suggested it.
children around. McKenna's in the half dark and says, yes, yes. And I come in and he said, Mom, what does this mean? What are these things? OSH. He wanted to have like 5 different governmental protection groups mentioned and thanked. And McKenna's putting the resters down. What in the world were you thinking, Tom? You go into a dimly lit room with children that are going down for rest.
That was
To talk to a
Board
teacher.
members